Our first date started in a mall. We haven't seen this guy since. I met Rav during a big charades game in the STEM building's rec room. We were randomly paired up. Even though I got stuck on his interpretation of the phrase, to be or not to be, we still managed to come in first place. I was doing the talking to the skull bit from Hamlet, he said. The what? I thought you were deciding whether to throw out expired yogurt. We burst into laughter, and something about the raw timbre of his laugh drew me in. We talked about life, university, all the usual shit students talk about at loud parties. But as the conversation progressed, I really came to admire Rav's genuine passion about his major. The guy really loved mathematics. It's the spooky theoretical stuff that I like, he confessed, his eyes glinting under the fluorescent lights. When math transcends reality, when its rules become pure art, too abstract to fit our mundane world. Oh yeah. Like what? Oh well, like the Banach-Tarski paradox. He put his fingers on his temples in a funny, drunken way. Basically, it's a theorem that says you can take any object, like say a big old beach ball, and you can tear it apart, rearrange the pieces in a slightly different way and form two big old beach balls. No stretching, no shrinking, nothing extra added. It's like math bending reality. Wouldn't you need extra material for the second beach ball? Rav's grin widened. That's the beauty of it. The Banach-Tarski paradox works in a space where objects aren't made of atoms, but of infinitely small points. And when you're dealing with infinity, all kinds of impossible-sounding things can happen. I pretended to understand, mesmerized by the glow in his eyes. Before he could launch into his next favorite paradox, I pulled him out of the party and led him down the hall. In my dorm, we shared a reckless makeout session that seemed to suspend time, until the sound of my roommate's entrance shattered the moment. Rav fumbled for his shirt and began searching for his missing left shoe. Amid the commotion, he murmured, "I had such a great time tonight." I smiled. Me too. Even though he was a little awkwardly lanky, I thought he looked pretty cute. Kind of like a tall runway model who keeps a pencil in his shirt pocket. Before he left my door frame, his eyes locked onto mine. "So, I'll be blunt, do you want to go out?" I blushed and shrugged, "Sure." "Great. How do you feel about a weird first date?" I was put off for a second. A weird first date? I know this is going to sound super nerdy, and you can totally say no, but there's a big mathematics conference happening this Thursday. Apparently someone has a new proof of the Banach-Tarski paradox. The beach ball thing? Yeah. It used to be a very convoluted proof, like 25 pages, yet some guy from Estonia has narrowed it down to like 3 lines. That's kinda cool. It is. It's actually a pretty big deal in the math world. I know it may sound a little boring, but technically speaking, it's a historic event. No joke, you would have serious cred among mathies if you came. So you're saying this could be my Woodstock? He laughed in a way that made him snort. I mean, it's more like mathstock, but I genuinely think you will have a fun time. It was definitely weird, but why not have a quirky, memorable first date? Let's go to mathstock. Because the whole math wing was under renovation, the conference wasn't happening at our university. So instead, they had rented the event plaza at the City Center Mall. Oh, City Center Mall, a rundown, forgotten little dream of a mall that was constructed during the 1980s, back when it was really cool to add neon lights indoors and tacky marble fountains. Normally, I would only visit City Center to buy cheap stationery at the dollar store, but tonight I'd attend an event hosting some of the world's greatest minds. Who woulda thunk? "Claudia, come in." Rav met me right at the side entrance, holding open the glass doors. All the boring preamble is over. The main event, about to begin. I grabbed his hand and was led through the mall's eerie side entrance. Half of the lights were off, and all the stores were all closed behind rolled-down metal bars. The event plaza, on the other hand, was a brightly lit beehive. Dozens of gray-haired men were grabbing snacks from a buffet table. I could make out at least 100 or so plastic chairs facing a giant whiteboard on stage. Although it felt a little low budget, I could tell none of the mathematicians gave a shit. They were just happy to see each other and snack on some gyros. It felt like I was crashing their secret little party. On stage, the keynote speaker was already writing things on the board, symbols which made no sense to me but slowly drew everyone else into seats. X, fx left right arrow, x equals \n \. Hello everyone, my name is Indrek, the speaker said. I've come from a little college town in Estonia. Cheers and claps came enthusiastically, as if he was an opening act at a concert. I nodded dumbly, watching as the symbols multiplied like rabbits on the board. Indrek's accent thickened with each equation, his marker flew across the board as he layered functions, Gödel numbers, and references to Pythagorean geometry, according to Rav. The atmosphere grew electric, as if we were witnessing a forbidden ritual. Rav's eyes grew wide. Whoa, wait, no way. Hold on, is he about to prove Gödel theorem? Is that what this is all leading to? Holy shit. This guy is about to prove the unprovable theorem. The what? I asked. A ginger-haired mathematician near the back smacked his forehead in disbelief. Indrek, you devil. This is incredible. The Estonian on stage gave a little smirk as he wrote the final equals sign. I think you will all be pleasantly surprised by the reveal. You could hear a pin drop in the plaza. No one said a word as Indrek wielded his dry erase marker. The finishing touch is, of course, in a single swift movement, Indrek drew a triangle at the bottom right of the board. Equals delta, delta. Something stabbed into the top of my head. It seriously felt as if a knife had sunk down the middle of my skull and shattered into 1,000 pieces. I swatted and gripped my scalp, grit my teeth. All around me came cries of agony. As soon as it came, the fiery knife retracted, replacing the sharp pain with a dull, throbbing ache, like there was an open wound in the center of my brain. A wave of groans came from the audience as everyone staggered to protect their scalps. Rav massaged his own head and then turned to me, looking terrified. What the hell was that? He asked. You felt that too? We both had nosebleeds. Rav took out a handkerchief and let me wipe mine first. Good God, Indrek, the ginger prof exclaimed from the back. Who is that? Out from behind the Estonian speaker, there appeared another wiry-looking Estonian man in a brown suit, a duplicate copy of Indrek. The duplicate spoke with a satisfied smile. That's right. With the right dose of Banaktarski, I have replicated myself. For perhaps the 1,000th time. A chorus of gasps. All of the mathematicians swapped confused glances. Then Indrek's voice boomed, and my incredible equation has also invited an esteemed guest tonight. A name you'll no doubt recognize from centuries ago. The audience stopped squirming, everyone just looked stunned. I promised our guest a meeting with all our brightest minds, all in one place. Indrek raised his hands, encircling everyone. You see, our guest lives for it. He feasts on it. Out from one of the mall's shadowy halls came a palanquin. That's right, a palanquin. One of those ancient royal litters, except instead of being held by a procession of Roman slaves, it was several Indreks who held it. And atop the white marble seat was a tall, slumped skeleton of a man dressed in a traditional Greek toga. His thin lips stretched across his dry, sagging face. My fellow scientists, mathematicians, and engineers, Indrek announced, allow me to introduce the one and only Pythagoras. Questions snaked through the crowd. Pythagoras? How? Why? What? As the palanquin marched forward, the ancient Greek mathematician lifted one of his thin fingers and pointed at the terrified ginger professor in the back. I could see the professor crumple on the spot. He screamed, gripped his head, and collapsed into a seizure. Holy fuck. What is happening? Pythagoras appeared to be smiling, as if he just absorbed fresh energy. Rav tugged at my wrist, and we both bolted at the same time, back the way we came. As we left, I looked back to witness a wave of Indreks flow in from behind the palanquin. They raced and seized all the older, slower professors like something out of Clash of the Titans or a zombie movie. About 60 or so people were left behind to fend off an army of Indreks. I never saw any of them again. Backslash, 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 backslash in terms of survivors. There's about 20. We're made up of TAs, students, and professors on the younger side. And despite our escape from the event plaza, the next couple hours brought nothing but despair. We ran and ran, but the mall did not reveal an exit. It's like the mall's geometry was being duplicated in random patterns over and over. We came across countless other plazas, escalators, and grocery stores, but mostly long, endless halls. We called 911, ecstatic that we still had a signal, but when the police finally entered the mall, they said they found nothing except empty chairs and a whiteboard. It's like Indrek had shifted us into a new dimension, some new alternate frequency. We even had scouts leave and explore branching halls here and there, only to come back with the same sorrowful expression on their face. It's just more mall. Nothing but more city center mall. // for sleep, we broke into a bed, bath and beyond, and stole a bunch of mattresses, pillows, and blankets. We had shifts of people guarding the entrance to make sure we weren't followed. For breakfast, we broke into a Taco Bell, where we learned that the electricity and gas connections all still worked. This gave a little hope because it meant there was an energy source somewhere, which meant there had to be an outside of the mall, which meant that there could still be some sort of escape. At least that's what some of the mathies seemed to think. // over the last day now, we've been exploring further and further east. We're constantly taking photos of any notable landmarks in case we need to backtrack. So far, we keep finding other plazas that contain marble fountains. There were winged cherubs spitting onto an elegantly carved Merbius. There was a fierce mermaid holding a perfect cube with water sprinkling around her. There even appeared to be one of a bald old man in a toga pouring water into a bathtub. The mathematicians all thought it was supposed to be Archimedes, which I guess made sense because of his Eureka bathtub moment and whatnot, but it laid a new seed of worry. Was Archimedes also somewhere on a palanquin? Was he looking to suck our energy somehow? We made camp around the fountain because it provided ample drinking water, and because there was a pretzel shop nearby we could pillage for dinner. People were scared that we might never make it back home, and I couldn't blame them. I was scared too. As soon as someone stopped crying, someone else inevitably would start. Our spirits were low. Very low, to say the least. And so Rav, ever the optimist, took it upon himself to organize a game of charades. Everyone agreed to give it a shot. It would take our minds off the obvious and help with morale. Pairs were formed. The unspoken rule was to avoid mentioning any of our present situation, obviously. A Gen X professor did a pretty good impression of George Bush. A teacher's assistant did an immaculate interpretation of killing two birds with one stone. When it was Rav's turn, he gave himself a serious expression and held a single object and looked at it from several angles, mouthing a pretend monologue. I savored the moment, remembering the fun we had had only a few days ago back in the STEM building's rec room. It felt like months ago at this point. Hamlet, I said. I believe the quote is, "To be or not to be." Rav turned to face me with a very sad smile. "Actually, Claudia, I'm deciding whether to throw out expired yogurt." I smiled and acknowledged the past joke. He tried to smile back. I could see he was trying so hard, but the smile soon collapsed as he brought his palm to his face. Tears began to stream. Sobs soon followed. "I'm so sorry I brought you here. This isn't what math is supposed to be. This is fucking terrible. Awful. Claudia, I'm so sorry. I'm so fucking sorry." I cried too.